Hey you guys, it's George Carroll. Welcome to this impromptu Facebook Live video training. And if you're watching us live, welcome, welcome, welcome. There's a few books that I want to share with you. And the first one that I want to share with you is from my friend Jim Sharon. Jim Sharon wrote a book called Ordinary Men, Extraordinary Lives, Defining Moments. And so there's a book that I want to share with you. And I actually wrote a chapter in this book. And I'll tell you why this book is important to this training. So if you're just joining us or if you're watching this on the training, I'm going to be sharing 5 ways to know if now is the time. Because if you start your book too early, if you start it too soon, then what's going to happen is that you're going to spin your wheels in frustration. And if you start it too late, you may never start it, because here's what happens. We get all excited. We get the download, from the universe that says it's time to write a book. And we get the download, then we get all inspired, and then boom, all of a sudden we start writing, we start typing on our computer. What's up, Frankie? We start writing on our computer, or we start writing, in our journals. And then what happens is we get stuck, right? We hit one of the barriers. We hit an internal barrier of maybe perfectionism or fear of being judged. And some of the things that I share on the webpage I'm going to give you here in a moment are the 7 biggest excuses that aspiring authors use to avoid becoming published authors. So one of them is the fear of being judged by other people, the fear of being seen, because man, to write a book, to bring a book out into the world and say, hey, I'm coming out in a big way, here's my book, that's scary. When you become a published author, you step to a whole new level of operating in your life. You go so far and beyond what you've been that the process of writing your book becomes such a powerful personal and professional growth journey. So the fear of being seen and the fear of being judged by others is one of the biggest fears that I see of aspiring first-time authors who avoid becoming published authors. The other one is, 2 of the 7 that we're talking about here is the fear of imperfection. Most people operate from this place of it has to be perfect and it has to look a certain way. And as a result of the fear of it not being perfect, they just avoid it altogether. So what happens is we get the inspiration, we get the download, we get all excited, and boom, all of a sudden we start typing. And then we get stuck. We don't know where to go. We don't have the right information. We don't have the right education. And then we're like, oh, okay, I'll write tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes the next day becomes next week, the next week becomes next month, the next month becomes the next year, and we go, years, maybe even decades throughout our lives never writing our book. And so in this training I'm going to share with you, I just made some notes here. Initially it was 3 ways to know if now is the time, but there's a couple more that hit me along the way. So I'm going to be sharing 5 ways to know if now is the time to write your book. So if you're just joining us on this live video training, I'm going to start with this book. So this book is a book that my friend Jim Sharon wrote. Jim Sharon is a good friend of mine. Him and his wife Ruth Sharon do some great relationship work here in the world. And in this book, I wrote a chapter in this book, and this was actually the start of my author career. So I want to say thank you to Jim Sharon for letting me be part of this book, and also share with you the story is on page, let's see here. It's on page, where are we? Oh, it's at the top. 93, I believe, is where page 93, basically. And so as you can see, I've got a title in there called The Fallen Soldier Rises. And it's just a short story, and this book is a compilation book of a lot of people who had some powerful things that they had overcome in their life. And as a result of me writing this chapter in this book, the excitement of writing a chapter in somebody else's book, initially it was really exciting. And if you are, a contributing author to a book, that's somebody else's book, the feeling. You launch the book, maybe it was a bestseller, and you feel all good about it, you feel all excited. And then that buzz kind of wears off because you realize, well, wait a minute, this is not my book. I've got a small sliver of real estate in this book, but this ain't my book. And so the buzz wears off, and as a result of it, you never really promote the book anymore because it's really not your book. And that's what happened to me. And then I contributed another chapter to a book called Soulful Marketing by Andrea Constantine. I love Andrea Constantine, love her work. And I contributed a chapter to that book on rapport and creating connections with other people quickly. And what's up, Angel Marie? Angel Marie just launched her book, by the way, guys, called Shine On. In fact, I think somewhere on my shelf I've got a copy of it. Welcome, Angel. Good to have you, sister. And so the second book that I contributed a chapter to was called Soulful Marketing. And again, I had the same kind of buzz. What's up, Rocio? Had the same kind of buzz, and by the month that went by after that book got published, again, the buzz just kind of wore off because I realized, damn, it really wasn't my book. So those two books were sort of my starting point as it relates to becoming a published author. But I was hungry for more. It left me feeling empty because I knew that those chapters really weren't going to be seen in a way that I wanted them to be seen. And so along the way, thanks, Angel. I appreciate the love, sister. So along the way, along my journey, I ended up living out of my car. Many of you know, many of you don't know, but I ended up living out of my car homeless for 8.5 months. And the book that was inspired from that was this book called The Homeless Motivational Speaker. This was my first book that was launched in 2014, August of 2014. And when this launched, something happened. So before I started writing my book, I wrote it in a very short period of time. I remember it was January 21st of 2014. I was visiting my parents for a few days right after the new year hit, and something inside of me just said, boom, go, start writing. And there's no perfect time. I always tell people that, when is the perfect time to start writing your book? When is the perfect time to start writing your book? Well, it's like having a baby. You're never fully ready. We have a little 6-month-old. His name is Callan, and I was as ready as I thought I was when he came into the world, but, boy, was I wrong. We have to shift and change. And same thing with a book. You're never fully ready to have children, and you're never fully ready to write a book, but you just got to start. And so on January 21st, that inspiration hit me, and then 3 weeks later, literally my first draft to my book was done. And then I got scared. I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to tell the world about this. Well, wait a minute. I'm not going to tell the world my story. What are they going to think of me? All my mental blocks kicked in. And what are they going to think of me? They're going to judge me. They're going to make me wrong for it. I'm going to look like a fool here. And all of those internal, voices started kicking in. And what's up, Jenny? And after a while, I just put it away, and I didn't do anything with it for a few months. And then finally, thank you, Angel. I appreciate it. And then finally, what happened was, as I was getting closer to the process of clicking and hitting the publish button online for our self-publishing platform that we use in my mastermind group, before I hit it, I received a really nasty email from one guy that I actually hired as a mentor, as a healer, to work through some of the internal patterns that I was going through at the time. And then I also had him be a guest speaker at one of my events prior to that, and he sent me this nasty email with a bunch of low blows using the information that I gave him as I was a client. And it hurt, man. It hurt. So I stepped back from the publish button and I crawled into a ball for a couple of days, and I didn't do anything with it. And it was really a sad time because I was so worried about upsetting him and pissing him off. And then I realized something that changed everything for me. I woke up one morning, I was really sad, but I was also pissed off at the same time. I was like, why am I not moving forward on this? And so I woke up and I thought, wait a minute, this is the pattern that I've been using my entire life to slow me down, to stop me from stepping up in my life, worrying about pissing off other people or rocking the boat too much, or, going against the grain, if you will, and standing out from the crowd. This is the pattern that I've been using my whole life to slow myself down. I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And I'm hitting the publish button, and then boom, August 29th, I hit the publish button of 2014, and something happened when I hit the publish button. Something happened when as I went through the process of writing my book. I went through this crazy internal transformation and expansion, and I hit publish. And I never looked back again at the idea of being too worried to rock the boat or upsetting somebody because I'm stepping out into my greatness. And you got to do the same thing. Like, whether it's through the process of writing a book, you can't let anybody stop you from stepping into your greatness, because there's a lot of naysayers out there. There's a lot of haters out there. And, it can be challenging sometimes, but you can't stop yourself from really stepping into your greatness. And so, I hit the publish button, became a published author. And what happened after that was amazing. I think 3 months later, I moved to Portland, Oregon. A month after that, I met a woman who is currently my wife. Not long after that, we moved in. Not long after that, we got a kid. Not long after that, we got married. And so I'm not saying that becoming a published author, you're going to meet a woman and have a kid, move to Portland, Oregon. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that if you decide to become a published author, you're going to expand into a greater version of you. So the book is sort of the result of the journey of expansion. And, Angel Marie, I'm sure you can relate to that experience as well. And so this was my first book, and then I wrote another book. And here in a moment, if you're just joining us, by the way, I'm going to share 5 ways to know if now is the time. How do you know if you should write a book? How do you know if now is the time to write a book? And I'm going to share 5 ways to know that for sure. All right, so the second book I wrote, and this is when I started getting really strategic with writing a book. And Angel Marie knows James Malinchak. He's my current business mentor. And he's taught me so much about the speaking business. And so many of you know I'm a motivational speaker, travel around the country and speak to groups and organizations and work with teams within organizations. And this is when I started to get strategic with writing a book. I said, okay, I want to write a book to utilize it as sort of a way to tap into the speaking market in a bigger way. And so after I took one of James's boot camps, which he doesn't do anymore, it's called College Success Speaking Boot Camp, I realized that I wanted to write a book about helping kids in high school and in college develop a healthy relationship with money. Because growing up, I was never taught how to budget money, how to manage money, how to save money, how to invest money. I was never taught any of that. My parents, yeah, absolutely, Angel. It's it's an amazing experience, guys. I mean, talk to Angel. The minute you become a published author, your whole world will change. You become a bigger version of you. And so anyway, I wrote this book because I wanted to help a lot of high school kids and college kids say, hey, you got to develop a healthy relationship. Emotionally, you got to develop a healthy relationship with money. Otherwise, you're going to self-sabotage like crazy, because I had grown up with these ideas that rich people were greedy and rich people were assholes and that rich people were, they stole from the poor. And because I grew up with this programming, I wouldn't allow myself to become wealthy. I wouldn't allow myself to become rich. And so when you think about it, the programming that you take on as it relates to money will determine what you will do and what you won't do as it relates to generating income. What's up, Jenny? Jenny says, thanks for sharing it. Even those times when you had to fill you with courage and made the best decision. Yes, absolutely, Jenny. And so we have to develop a connection, a relationship with money energetically and emotionally before we'll do the right things with it. Because if we're taught growing up that rich people are greedy, we'll unconsciously avoid becoming rich because we don't want to become greedy. And so I wrote this book as a way to say, hey, money's not all that bad. Money's not the bad guy here. Let's not buy into society's ideas about what rich people are and aren't. Let's actually create our own relationship with money, one that actually can fulfill us and sustain us long term, versus utilizing society's ideas of what money means. Because money is kind of a dirty thing in our society, and we got to get beyond all of that to see that, hey, money has a lot of value. Money is a medium of exchange for goods and services. That's all it is. It's a medium of exchange for services and goods that we want to purchase. And so in our reality, in our society, hey, Julie, in our society, when we develop that healthy relationship with money, and for those of you who are just joining us, we're going to share 5 different ways. We're going to share 5 different ways to know if now is the time to write your book, because timing is a very important thing. And I'm just sharing my second book, Developing a Healthy Relationship with Money, the importance of having your own relationship with money, having a positive connection with money, and going beyond all of media's and society's ideas of what it means to have a lot of money. As it relates to generating income, I want to teach high school and college kids, say, hey, if you develop a healthy relationship with money, you'll do the right things with it. You'll save it. You'll invest it. You'll spend less than you earn, and you'll invest the rest. And so I talk about a lot of that in this book, and it's a real practical guide to developing a healthy relationship with money. And what I learned from James is that when you have a book and you actually speak on that topic. So this is for those of you who are speakers. This is for those of you who love inspiring people and want to impact more people through speaking. James taught me that when you have a book and you speak about the topic of your book, it puts you in a different position to get hired than other people who don't have a book and speak on the same topic. So I wrote this book with the intention to help a lot of kids develop a healthy relationship with money, and also break into the college speaking market and speak to students about the importance of developing that healthy relationship with money. I have a speaking engagement in Dallas with the, what is it, the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, SASE, and it's on this topic. So I'm doing 2 talks during that conference, and a lot of it is because I wrote this book. So for those of you who want to grow your speaking business, you've got to write a book on your topic. What's up, Amanda? You are very welcome, sister. So write a book on your topic. If you want to blow up your speaking business, you got to write a book on your topic, and you also got to attend James Malinchak's boot camp. I think it's December 8th through 11th, and he'll teach you everything that you need to know about the speaking business in order to really go out, make a big difference, and make a big income and impact utilizing your message, your content, and also your book. So this was the 3rd book that I wrote called Maximum Performance and Productivity. This one I birthed right at the end of last year, beginning of this year, and performance and productivity is a very highly paid topic in corporate environments. And so I wrote a book so that I can position myself as an expert on this topic, and I love speaking about it. Obviously, you want to be passionate about what you're writing, but this book has positioned me for a lot of talks this year. And so I'm really grateful that I took the time and energy. I wrote this book in maybe 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. But you'll want to take the time and the energy it takes to write a book, guys, because once you become a published author, the game changes. Everything changes for you in your business when you have your own book. But when you have a chapter in somebody else's book, it's not the same thing because it's not your book. You basically have written a blog post inside of somebody else's book. And not to downplay compilation books because they're great, but if you really want to step up your game as an entrepreneur, as a coach, and that's another thing that you can do. Like, think about your coaching work. If you work with people one-on-one, then and you write a book that is on your topic or on your coaching. Let's say you're a nutrition coach, and you write a book on nutrition, on everything that you know about nutrition. Now, you not only are you a coach on nutrition, but you're a published author on nutrition. And not only that, once you start getting booked for speaking gigs, teaching people about nutrition, now you're a coach, a speaker, and an author on nutrition, which changes the game for you if you work it well. And so writing a chapter in a book is great. It's a great place to start. And if you know that now is the time to take your chapter and turn it into your own book, I appreciate all the love in here. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate it. And so if you have a chapter inside of somebody else's book, awesome. It's a great start. Now what you want to do is begin expanding it and turning that chapter into a book. All right. So these are my 3 books that I wrote over the course of the last 2.5 years or so. And there's more coming through me. I won't stop writing books. I just won't do it because they are so valuable for people. I could be sleeping and somebody's reading this book, learning how to become more productive and how to enhance their energy levels. I could be sleeping while somebody's reading this book, learning how to better develop a relationship with money so that they can go out into the world and end their lives with this huge nest egg that they can pass forward on to future generations. You know, I heard it once said that, wealthy people think in 3 generations ahead and poor people think in the next 20 minutes. And isn't that true? You know, from a wealth standpoint, if we're thinking in 3 generations ahead, aren't we going to create a nest egg and save a heck of a lot more than if we're only just focused on the next 20 minutes or the hour? Anyway, I'm off that soapbox. And so I just want to share a couple of these because there are 5 ways that I think what are telltale signs if you know that now is the time to write your book. So connection is key, says Angel. Absolutely. So the first thing, guys, is the first way to know if now is the time to write your book is you've had challenges that you've overcome in your life. You've had challenges. Hey, Mindy Parsons. I was just in Bend, by the way, Mindy, with Tim O'Connell. I know you know Tim probably. Speaking to their nutrition department and their transportation department and their maintenance department. I love that district. I love the people in that district. As you know, I think Kim Crabtree is down there now. Anyway, that was a side note. What's up, Mindy? Good to see you, sister. So the first one, guys, you've overcome challenges in your life. So think about the past. Think about where you've come from. Think about the challenges that you've overcome. Have you overcome big challenges that can help somebody else on their journey? Because remember, nobody knows what you know like you know it. And I tell my published author mastermind that all the time. Like, nobody knows what you know like you know it. Nobody has experienced the same combination of experiences that you've had in your life. Like, you have a totally unique life blueprint as a result of just living life. And if you've overcome challenges and you've become a bigger, better, greater person as a result of it, like, why not plug that into a book and inspire people through that, and through your story. So if you've overcome challenges and maybe you've overcome some kind of illness, yeah, definitely a lot of people at Ben Lapine. Excellent information. You are amazing. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. And so if you've overcome a lot of life challenges, I mean, that's a great reason to write a book. If you've overcome illnesses, like there are people who've written books that have obviously overcome cancer and overcome a lot of different things, you know? And if you've overcome anything in your life, why not create a book out of it? Why not write a book out of it? I mean, so that's telltale sign number one that it's time for you to write a book. So if you look back into your past and you see, man, I have overcome a lot, man. I'm only, X years old, X amount years old, but man, I've lived a hell of a lot of life this go around. And so, why not share that information through the power of a book? And I'm going to share a couple of ways that self-publishing makes it really easy here in a little bit too. But if you've overcome challenges in your life, answer the questions. Have you overcome challenges in your life? If the answer is yes, you need to write a book about it. All right, write a book about it, because it's not only is it healing for you when you write it, but when somebody else reads it, it's healing for them when they read it. Remember, nobody has had the combination of experiences that you have had in your life, which means that your life blueprint is a completely unique blueprint, very much like your fingerprint. So when you look at your fingerprint, nobody else on this planet has that same fingerprint. Isn't that interesting? Even your iris, nobody has that same pattern of iris. We're all unique, and even your vocal vibration, nobody else has the exact frequency of your vocal vibration. Where all those three things are unique. Your life story is no different. What's up, Julie? How about feeling nervous about the stuff you have overcome, but it's so private and sensitive? Here's the thing with that, Julie, is that if you're worried about, or nervous about the stuff that you've overcome because it's so private, that controls you. Like, that is a jailer for you. I mean, and maybe I'm speaking too soon. I don't know you. We've never met before, I don't think. But if anything that you're holding inside is private and it's a secret, that limitation is stopping you somewhere in your life. The beautiful part of writing a book is that you pull that out, you put it in the book, and it becomes a very powerful healing process for you. And the chances of, we talk about this all the time in my book writing mastermind called Become a Published Author in 126 Days. A lot of people go through that same thing, Julie. They're afraid to share what it is that they want to share because it's private and affects other people. And I say, if you're speaking your truth, who cares what they say? If what you write about is true for you, that's true for you. And if they have issue with that, then it's their issue and it's not yours. So you want to free yourself from whatever bondage that's creating in your life so that you can go out and be free from it. And a lot of times what I see is that it strengthens the relationship with the other person, because maybe the other person didn't know that you see it that way or that you experience that in your way. And so when you have that conversation with them, a lot of times it creates stronger bonds as a result of it. But what a great question that is, Julie. That's a really great question. The second way to know that now is the time to write your book is, and this is a simple one. Has anybody ever told you, hey, Julie, hey, Amanda, hey, Mindy, you should write a book? Has anybody ever told you that? I'm curious. Just comment below. Has anybody ever said, hey, you should write a book? Has anybody ever told you that? And if somebody's told you that, maybe you should write a book. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you should write a book. Maybe you should listen. When I first became a motivational speaker, I remember when it all started. I was depressed in the corporate world. I hated having bosses. I hated it. Amanda, yes, definitely. Julie, hell yes. And so I remember being in the corporate world and I got really depressed. And then that's when I got plugged into the whole personal development world. I read a book called Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins, and it totally inspired me. And I went on this 30-day media fast where the only thing that I read or consumed was personal development information. In that 30 days, everything seemed to have changed. My outlook on the world, my view of myself seemed to change. And I gave my 2-week notice to the organization that I worked for at the time, where I was a sales manager. And in that 2 weeks, I was teaching personal development information. I wasn't teaching technology like I was supposed to be teaching and training on. I was like giving inspirational speeches during my training courses with them. And my last day, 3 of my reps came up to me and they said, George, you should be a motivational speaker. You should be a motivational speaker. You should be a motivational speaker. And the third time, something clicked and I heard it. And the minute the third person said it, almost something like inside of me said, okay, I'll do that. And so I began visualizing myself over and over in front of audiences and crowds. 4 years later, after constant visualization and taking big action, I ended up starting a speaking, training, and coaching business. And so, if somebody says to you, hey, you should write a book, we have to remember, and I don't know what your religious or your spiritual beliefs are, but we have to remember that the God or the creator or the universe or whatever it is that you want to call it, it communicates to us in a lot of different ways. And in many cases, it's through other people. And so it might not be that person communicating to you. It might be literally the universe saying, hey, get your ass in gear, write that dang book, because there's a lot of people in the world who can benefit from your story. So that's the second way that you know it's time to write a book, is if somebody has ever told you, hey, you should write a book. All right, so the third one that I'll share with you here right now is you want to utilize it to grow your business. So we talked a lot about this already. When you write a book on a specific topic, and what happens is you become the expert on this topic. So I'm curious to see, for those of you watching, what's your sort of expertise, or what's your topic of knowledge that you're very versed in? I'd love to kind of see some of the comments here. For me, I'm all about being efficient. I'm all about cutting the fat. I'm all about having high energy. And so I wrote a book on that topic of maximum performance and productivity. And I know that people, employees, companies have huge problems with energy levels. They have huge problems with stress. They have huge problems with helping employees stay organized and also stay productive. And so this book has booked so many speaking engagements for me. And I've also even been hired as a productivity coach for different organizations and individuals, even just as a result of writing this book. And here's another thing that you want to remember. Thanks for the love, guys. I appreciate the love. When you write a book, here's the cool thing is, when you write a book, you don't want to write it from your current level of knowledge on the topic. Like, when you write a book, you want to write a book and go get more knowledge. You want to go research. You want to, find studies and different statistics out there. What's up, Ben Noble? I've been watching you, my man. Fun watching your journeys. So you want to use your book as a way to say, how can I really gain more knowledge? How can I research more? How can I go find some studies out there to really hone in on the message that I want to create? So with this book, I went out and did a ton of research on stress levels of employees, and I added it to the book, and I added all kinds of studies in here, and it really helped me expand my knowledge base on this topic. And so you can't utilize, and I highly recommend that you don't utilize your current knowledge base on a topic before you write a book. Let the book be the inspiration for you to really become an expert on the topic and for you to research a lot. So the third way, for those of you who are just joining us, just so you know, I'm sharing 3 ways, well actually 5, 5 ways to know if now is the time to write a book. So Ben, I'm curious, man, have you written a book? I swear you either have or there's one coming soon, one of the two. And so I'm going to share, I've already shared 3 of them. The first one is you've had major life challenges that you have overcome. The second one is that somebody has told you, hey, you should write a book. The third one is you want to utilize a book to grow your business. So earlier we talked about if you're like a nutrition coach. I'm curious to hear from you guys. What are some of your expertise? Is it nutrition? Is it stress management? Is it what are some of your expertise? Julie, I'd love to know. Amanda, I'd love to know more. If you want to utilize your book to grow your business, basically, if you're a coach, as an example, and I used this example earlier, but if you're a nutrition coach, and I believe you, awesome, Ben. If you're a nutrition coach and you help people find clean ways to eat and exercise to find more vitality and health, as an example, and you write a book on that topic, all of a sudden you position yourself not only as a coach, but really as an expert in the field, and you gain a tremendous amount of credibility in the marketplace as a result of you publishing your book. Not only as a coach, but also as a speaker. Not only as a speaker, but also as a facilitator. So if you facilitate classes, maybe for different bodies of work out there, and you write your own book, all of a sudden you're now a published author, as to where 90%, 95% of the personal development or the personal coaching industry or the personal entrepreneurship and business industry doesn't have a book. You separate yourself from the masses dramatically by having a book. So that's another reason why you should write a book. Number 4 is you want to teach a body of work or specific content. Maybe you've had some pretty amazing life experiences where you've had certain downloads and information come through you, and you want to take that information and put it in a body of work, a book, and you want to begin teaching and facilitating and speaking on that. That's another good telltale sign that, hey, maybe it's time to write a book. If there's content inside of you, if there's sort of a model or a framework of transformation inside of you, or a framework of achieving goals inside of you that you want to bring out to the world, that's a great way to do it. All right, so that's the fourth one. And the fifth one is the biggest one, and I'm going to share that here in a moment. The fifth one is I think is the biggest one, and it's the most simple that many of us have. That is, I think, is so simple but so powerful. But first, I want to share a few other books with you. So this book is from my friend Celeste. Julie, we have a comment. Julie says, I am passionate about children, specifically about those who have been adopted and have challenges with what's led them into this, making changes and further understanding of special. And then the comment ends. I can't read the rest of it. But if you're passionate about children, that's awesome. Writing maybe children's books or a body of work for children, or utilizing, think about, for Julie and for the rest of you, think about writing a book, a framework that becomes your sort of a teaching manual that you can use in your business. That's something that I use Maximum Performance and Productivity for, is it's a specific framework that I teach and train on, and it's sort of the teaching and training manual that I use for my training engagements. So consider something like that. So maybe for Julie, there's a handbook that you want to write that helps you get in front of more audiences, because the youth speakers market is huge, guys. Speaking to the youth, and James Malinchak is the go-to man for learning how to tap into that market. But it's a huge market that people pay plenty of money for in order for you to teach that to that specific group. All right, so this is a book called All In by my friend Celeste O'Brien. Celeste, if you're watching this, mad love to you, sister. Congratulations on publishing your book. For many of you know, I have a book writing mastermind called Become a Published Author in 126 Days, and I open the doors to it only twice a year. And so in that book writing mastermind, the best, I guess, example of what's available in it for people is a container for accountability. Accountability is the number one thing that people need to take their book from start to finish, period. If you don't have accountability, you don't have anybody holding your feet to the fire saying, hey, you committed to writing this book, keep going. All right, that's the number one thing. The number two thing that people are missing in the process of writing their book is education. They don't know where to start. A lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people get inspired to write a book. They get the drop of inspiration, the download. They're like, okay, bing, time to write a book. And they're like, okay, okay, where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go? And so the mastermind that I created takes you literally from start to finish of everything that you need to know in the self-publishing process to take your book from the first word to the last word and get it published. And so Celeste O'Brien joined the first round of my mastermind in, I believe it was October of 2014, I believe it was. Yep, that's when it was. And she just published her book. Within 2 years of just saying yes to writing her book, within 2 years, she is now a published author. And I'm excited to see where Celeste takes this book and this content and inspires the world with it. So congratulations to Celeste. So all of these books that I'm showing you are all authors from my mastermind. The other person that I want to show you her name is Amelia Cohn, and she wrote a book called Red Dread Dream. And it's a post-apocalyptic myth for the new age. Very entertaining fiction storyline, and just very creative writing here. So it doesn't matter whatever your topic is. It doesn't have to be teaching content. It can be kind of very similar to Amelia's work here. So congratulations, Amelia. Amelia wrote and published her book probably in maybe 150 days or so. But the key to getting started is, especially if if any of these four that I've shared with you, say the name of your mastermind. The name of the mastermind group is called Become a Published Author in 126 Days. In fact, if you want to learn more about it, I have a whole program web page that you can go to. Go to bpa126.com. It's B like become, P like published, A like author, bpa126.com. and you can learn more about it. I've got an entire 30-minute video on there with more education, and you can read through all the information. And the doors actually open to that mastermind on September 1st. But between now and September 1st, there is a pre-launch special going on. So if you want to check that out, go to bpa126.com. And think about it this way. It's a container that you plug yourself into, and it offers 3 levels of accountability that I'll share with you here in a moment. So accountability, as we talked about, is that most important thing to the process of writing your book. You get the drop of inspiration, all of a sudden you're like, bing, okay, it's time to write a book, time to write a book. And then you don't know where to go. Where do I start? You know, where do I begin? What do I write on? Do I write on a notepad? Do I write on a Word document in my computer? Where the hell do I start? You know, who's going to publish my book? So we answer all those questions inside of the mastermind, and it's a container that really challenges you to stay focused and stay committed to your journey, no matter how long it takes. Another person in my mastermind, her name is Trinity Songha, and she wrote a book called Wholehearted Living, The Art of Showing Up to Life in Your Fullness. Really great book, really inspiring story and tools from Trinity here. Trinity wrote her book in maybe 180 days or so, but she just absolutely crushed it with this book. And so it can be done. Congratulations to you, Trinity, on becoming a published author. There's no feeling like it. I remember the first time that I received my proof copy to the Homeless Motivational Speaker. I received my proof copy, and I remember grabbing it and being like, holy shit, this is it. This is it. There's no feeling like it. Well, actually, there's a feeling that surpasses it, and it's having a baby. I just have to say, as a new dad, I have to say that having a baby is by far better than holding your book. But this is a very close second, I'm going to say. And Angel can probably attest to that. This book, when I held it for the first time and I put it in my hands, I'm like, oh man, this is so awesome. So it's a phenomenal feeling. It's a phenomenal feeling. So congratulations to Trinity. And here's another book by another mastermind member. Her name is Kim Louise Morrison. And she wrote a book called From Black and White to Technicolor. And it's a phenomenal story. She talks about how, you know, her in her life, she thought it was all about finding the right person to marry and, you know, living the right life. And all of a sudden, you know, things change, and she writes it in her book if you want to check it out on Amazon. And she just talks about taking your life from black and white to Technicolor. So really amazing story and content here from Mastermind member Kim Louise Morrison. Julie says, that is so funny, was just getting after meditating recently. It's time to get this book written. I then randomly stumbled on my live video today. There are no coincidences. That's right, Julie. That's right. I love this dang universe too. Even though it pisses me off sometimes, I love it. So that's cool, Julie. I mean, the synchronicity is awesome, and you know, it's so cool to see how quickly you created that opportunity for you. I mean, give yourself some credit for that one. The first person in my that to ever publish a book within my mastermind was Amy McBain, and she wrote a book called Intentional Orgasm, Changing the World One Orgasm at a Time. She wrote this book literally in 126 days, so it can be done. You might be thinking 126 days, that's a long, or that's not a long time. And it actually is plenty of time if you carve out, and we teach you how to do that, how to set up your day so that you are writing consistently and making progress towards your book every day. I mean, there are programs out there that tell you that you can write a book within a weekend. And I'd love to attend that program. We're going to give you 126 days. But here's the cool thing with the Become a Published Author in 126 Days Mastermind is you get lifetime access to it. So you take the first 126 days round, and if you've published, awesome. You can take it again and write a new book. And if you haven't finished it yet, you can jump on the next round and ride that momentum, ride that inspiration, and you just keep retaking the course over and over until you finish your book. You know, for Celeste, it took her almost 4 times for her to finally say, okay, I'm a published author. And for some people, it's a little bit shorter. Like for Amy, for example, Amy wrote her book in 126 days, published. Yes, Angel says, great tips, and yes, holding my proof brought me to tears. Everyone write a book. You can do it, and George is brilliant at helping you. Thank you, Angel. I appreciate that. So 126 days here, and Angel, I'm curious, from start to finish, how long did it take you to write your book? Just kind of type it in. I'm curious to see. Another person, Trina Hall. Trina, if you're out there, congratulations. Trina joined my first mastermind in October 2014 as well. And she wrote this book just recently published this book right around the time that Celeste did, like in late July or August or some point. But it took her almost 4 rounds to go from start to finish. But she wrote it in under 2 years, guys. Most people go their whole lives and don't write a book. But if you can write it within the maximum amount of time it's taken somebody is just under 2 years. And so if Trina can do it under 2 years, you can do it too. Another one, I love this book, Fear to Love, An Inner Journey Home, was written by Belinda Bennett. It's another mastermind member, and she is the fastest inside of my mastermind. And this is no small book. This is a 180-page book, 190-page book, and she wrote this thing in 115 days. 115 days. Hey everybody, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the top 5, it was going to be 3, but it's the top 5 ways to know if now is the time to write your book. And I'm going to do a quick recap here in a moment, but I'm just covering some of these published authors. So I'm also going to tell you why Mark Cuban's book sucks and why that means you can write a book too. I'm going to tell you about Mark Cuban's shitty book here, pardon the language. But if Mark Cuban can write this, I'm going to tell you why I think it's crappy and why you can do it too. But if multi-billionaire Mark Cuban can put out a book like this, which I'm going to share in a moment, if he can do it, I promise you, you can do it. All right, so those are just several of my mastermind members who have written a book over the last 2 years, and there are a few more. There are 10 people in 2 years. 10 people in 2 years. Hey, it's Belinda Bennett, guys. Belinda Bennett's just joined us. What's up, Belinda? We were just talking about you. Let's see here. Belinda Bennett from Fear to Love. There she is, Mrs. Published Author right there. How you doing, Belinda? Good to see you. We're just talking about how you publish your book in 115 days because you are a rock star. So anyway, guys, go to Amazon.com. Check out Belinda Bennett's From Fear to Love and buy her book. It's a phenomenal read. I mean, as the reader going through her story, her transformation, her expansion, it's a pretty amazing thing. So anyway, thanks for being live, Belinda. I didn't expect that to happen. Let's do a quick recap. So if you're just joining us, part of our call is covering the top 5 ways to know if now is the time to write your book. So the first one is you've had challenging life experiences that you've overcome. And if you've overcome big challenges, why not put it in a book and get it out into the world? The second reason why is because someone has told you. Have you ever had the experience? I know Amanda has, I know Julie has, who have been watching this training video. Has anybody ever told you, hey, you should write a book? If anybody has ever told you that, I don't believe that was the individual human person telling you to write a book. I believe that was Spirit or God or the universe speaking through that person to tell you to write a book. So if anybody's ever said, hey, you should write a book, maybe you should write a book. The third one was you want to utilize it as a way to grow your business. So one of the things that we talked about is when you write a book on your expertise, on your topic, you now become not only, let's say if you're a coach, you not only become a coach who is now a published author, but then you can utilize that to book speaking engagements as well. Julie says, yes, definitely. So we're talking about the third reason or the third way to know if now is the time to write your book. If you're at a point in your business, maybe you're just getting started, maybe you're in growth mode and you're stuck and you're thinking, what's going to take me to the next level? Well, writing a book can definitely help with that because when you write a book, you now become a published author on your topic. Let's say you're a health and nutrition coach, you write a book on health and nutrition, and now potential clients who may want to hire you as an individual coach to help them with their net health, nutrition, and vitality, they see that, hey, you're a published author. I remember the first time that I met somebody who was a published author. His name was Jonathan Mansky. He calls himself the Cerebral Sanitation Engineer, a good friend of mine and powerful change agent in Denver, Colorado. And I remember I met him one day at a networking event, at a Certus networking event. Certus Networking is owned by Sabrina Risley, really a phenomenal woman. And I met Jonathan Mansky and just seemed like a real nice, great presence kind of guy, real sweet guy. And I was like, I'd like to keep in touch with that guy, but didn't really think anything of it. And then a week later, I was taking a weekend course where I was learning a different modality for transformation and change called Psych-K. And in that, one of the participants had a book. And the book was called Law of Attraction Made Simple. And as I look at the book, I said, that sounds interesting. I turned it over and I see Jonathan's picture there. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that guy. Where did I met that guy a week ago. And so after that event, I called that guy Jonathan on the phone. I was like, hey man, I don't know if you remember me, but we met at this networking event. I'd love to have coffee with you. I didn't know you were a published author. And then along the way, I ended up hiring him and paying him as a coach to help me overcome some of my personal blocks that I had at the time. But I hired him. I would have never hired him if I didn't know that he was a published author. But because he was a published author, I sort of put him in this light that said, okay, this man is an expert. This man can definitely help me get what I want. And so, he helped me work through some major issues at the time and it was really helpful. But him being a published author, that's why I did it. And so if you want to utilize a book to grow your business, a book is a great way to do that. All right. It's a great way to do that. And also, if you want to grow your speaking business, my speaking business has tripled as a result of writing this book, actually writing all of my books and becoming a published author. My speaking business has tripled as a result of it. And that's a great way to really put yourself in the light of expertise, which is what people look for. When people hire you to come speak to their audience, they don't want an amateur. They want a professional. They want somebody that's an expert on their topic, and having a book communicates that. Number 4 is you want to teach a body of work or a specific body of content. So if you've had like a download of different pieces of information that is a sort of a unique body of work according to you, and you want to put it in a book, almost like a training manual or whatnot, you can do that. You can do that, and that's another reason maybe why you want to write a book. And the 5th one that I'm going to share with you right now, the 5th one I think is the sorry, I got a little hair. I think the 5th one is the most simple, but it's the most telling. And that is, you've received the nudge. You've received the nudge. Now, you might be asking, well, what is the nudge? If you've received it, you know you've received it. The nudge is sort of the nudge from the universe saying, hey, it's time. It's time. It's time. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. The universe just kind of says, hey bro, hey chick, hey lady, it's time. It's time to write that book. Go ahead. And if you've received that nudge, then definitely it is time. All right. So those are the 5 ways to know that, or ways to tell if now is the time. And if you received any of those sort of 5 messages or 5 things, if you will, then why not get started? And I do have a mastermind that you can plug yourself into, because the biggest challenge that people have who get the drop of inspiration and start writing a book is, number 1, they don't have the accountability. They don't have a group in place that holds their feet to the fire that says, hey, you committed to writing this book, let's get it done. So accountability is the number 1 thing. The number 2 thing that people don't have is they don't have the education. They don't have the where do I start, where do I go, where do I end. They don't have that in place. And the mastermind, if you want to learn more, go to bpa126.com, like BPA, Become Published Author, bpa126.com, and you'll see the entire call schedule for this upcoming mastermind. So the doors open on September 1st, but right now, yeah, you bet, Angel, thanks for joining us. The doors open September 1st, but between now and the end of August 1st, there's a pre-launch special. So we're going to launch the program again on September 1st, but right now there's a pre-launch special going on. So go to bpa126.com if you want to learn more about what that special is. And also you'll be able to see all the content and all the calls that you're going to plug yourself into when you sign up for the mastermind. And you get to plug yourself into a group of 70 plus people from all around the world who are also on the journey of writing their first book. And so you get the accountability. You'll get 3 levels of accountability. The first level is we have calls every single week so that you can check in every single week. And each call is different based on the information and the education that you need to take the next step and the next step and the next step. The second level of accountability is that you get a one-on-one accountability buddy where you touch base every few days or every week or whatever it is that you decide to. and you hold each other accountable. You say, hey, what are you going to get done this week? Hey, I'm going to write a chapter this week. Cool. What are you going to get done? Well, I'm going to write a page this week. Awesome. And then you support each other in that way. And then the third level of accountability is the Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. Nobody knows that it's there other than people who are in the group. And you get to, when you get stuck or you get, blocked up, you can go in, you can write in the group and say, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you help out? And we're basically going to go in there and make sure that you're taken care of, okay? So is it easy? No, it's challenging to write a book, but you can do it. And, here are almost 10 examples of people who have written and published a book within my group that show you that, hey, this can be done, and it can be done in a fairly short period of time if you're committed. So go to bpa126.com if you want to learn more and get all the details on signing up for the program. It launches October 20th is when we officially launch. The doors open on September 1st, but right now there's a pre-launch special going on. Go to bpa126.com to learn more about it. And let me tell you why Mark Cuban's book sucks. Mark Cuban, I respect Mark Cuban, first of all. I love Shark Tank. Mark Cuban is probably my favorite dude on there. And my opinion is that his book sucks, and I'm going to tell you why. So Mark Cuban, love you to death, man, but you put out a real crappy book. Not in terms of content, because the content's great. It's all about his story and sweat equity and all the things that he's done to become a billionaire. So, you might be thinking, well, who the hell am I to judge multi-billionaire Mark Cuban? His book, and the reason why I bring this up, let me get closer to you because I really want you to get this. So Mark Cuban's book, and let me ask you this. Do you have something going on in your head that says, in order for my book to be real, it has to be X number of pages? For most people, for some reason, they think that their book has to be like 150 pages in order for it to be like a real book, whatever that means. What would you guess Mark Cuban's book is? Mark Cuban's book is so thin that it doesn't even have a spine title on it. Mark, you hear me, Mark Cuban? Mark Cuban, I love you to death, and I love that your book is an example of anybody out there. Mark Cuban, hey Martine, you just joined us. Thanks for joining us. We're covering the top 5 ways to know if now is the time to start writing your book. I'm going to do one last recap in a moment, but right now I'm talking about why Mark Cuban's book, it both sucks and it provides a great example that anybody can write a book. Mark Cuban's book is so thin that it doesn't even have a spine on it. It doesn't even have, it has a spine, but it doesn't even have the title of his book on the spine, How to Win in Business, How to Win at the Sport of Business. So, nothing but love from Mark Cuban, and I love that his book says that, hey, I'm a multi-billionaire, here's my book. And it's a quick read, it's a great book, content is great, Mark is fabulous, love Mark. And here's why I share this with you. If Mark Cuban, multi-billionaire, can put out a book like this, you can do something similar and even better. So don't let your head trash, don't let the junk in here hold you back thinking that, hey, I've got to come up with a hardcover, 300 pages. This has to be like my life's work encompassed into one book. If you put that much pressure on yourself, you're never going to get your book done. The process of your book, it should be joyful, it should be challenging, it should be expanding you as a person, and also it should be something that that you're going to enjoy bringing out into the world. And so I share Mark Cuban's book with you because it's a great example that says multi-billionaire Mark Cuban can come out with a book like this. You can write something too. All right, Mark Cuban's book is a total of 73 pages. So right on, Mark. Thanks for being a great example for all of us as aspiring authors. Here's the last recap of the 5 ways to know that it's time to write your book. The first one is that you've had challenges in your life that you've overcome. Why not plug that into a book? The second one is that someone has told you, hey, Martine, hey, Angel, hey, Amanda, hey, Julie, hey, Ben, you should write a book. And if somebody's told you that, I would really listen to that message closely and ask, hey, is this a message from the universe? Or is this Joe Schmo telling me to write a book? Chances are it's the universe communicating through Joe Schmo. The third thing is that you want to utilize your book as a way to maybe grow your business or generate more income as a coach, a consultant, or as a speaker. And then the fourth one is that you have maybe a unique sort of body of work that's come through you through your life experiences, and maybe studying a ton of other bodies of work, and you want to utilize all of that knowledge to plug in and write a book with your own sort of body of work, if you will. And the last one is that you've received the nudge. If you've ever received the nudge from the universe that says, hey, it's time to write your book. Write your book, all right? And if you're looking for a mastermind or a group that you can plug yourself into that increases your chances of writing your book, just as all of these ladies have right here, who have joined the mastermind and have written their book within 2 years, then you can go to bpa126.com. Go to bpa126.com, where you can learn all about the mastermind, all the calls, the structure, the details, the schedule, what the mastermind offers. And one thing that I'll leave you with is this: is that our lives are a unique blueprint that no one else in the history of the universe will ever have. Your life is 100% unique to you. Nobody will ever go through the same combination of experiences, lessons, and challenges along the way. And because of that, I believe everybody should write a book, including you. So thank you for joining me on this training, this video training. I hope that you'll join us in the mastermind. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it. I hope you'll join us inside of the mastermind if it's something that calls to you. You can go to bpa126.com to learn more about it. If it pulls you in, I look forward to working with you closer in an intimate group where we jump on the phone every week with a different topic. And looking forward to seeing your work in the world, my friends. Thanks, Martine, and everybody else. Take good care. See you next time.